All right, here we go. Let's do this one. So number 2 says simplify that thing, a to the 7th b to the 3rd c times a to the 9th b squared c to the 5th. Remember that when we are multiplying here, what we really are doing is we are adding the exponents. And so if I take my a's and I add them together, I'm taking 7 plus 9. If I'm doing my b's, I'm really taking 3 plus 2. And if I'm doing my c's, that's really a 1, so it's 1 plus 5. When I add those things together, I should get this as my final answer, a to the 16th times b to the 5th times c to the 6th. Questions on 2? Let's look at number 3. Number 3, a little bit tougher. A to the 3/5 times a to the 3/5, all raised to the 10th power. Solve that one, please. We're simplifying. We are adding exponents. These two things, we're going to add them. So if I add them together, what do I need in order to add fractions? Common denominators. What's my new exponent going to be here? Oh, my denominator is 5 because they're already 5. What's the top going to be? 6, because I'm really taking 3 plus 3 to get 6 on top. That whole thing is raised to the 10th power. Since it is raised this power to a power, you're really going to multiply the two things. So I'm taking 6/5 times 10 over 1. How do I multiply fractions? Straight across. It gets you 60 over 5. When you reduce that, 60 over 5 would get you a to the 12th. Questions on 3. Simplifying. Remember, if you're multiplying, you're really adding. You raise it to a power, you multiply. There's number 4. Try your next one, please. Some reminders. Remember, we're going to cube both sides first to get rid of the cube root, and then we're going to solve for x and see if you need to check or not. In this case, it says you don't need to check. Why do we not need to check this one? Not just that there's one answer. What? Yeah, when do we have to check for extraneous? When it's squared instead of cubed. Because when we square negative numbers, they always turn positive. If you cube a negative number, it's going to stay negative, and so it doesn't affect us the same way. So in this case, because it was a cube problem, you're not going to have to check this one. It's when we're squared that we need to check. Let's look here. We're going to cube both sides. A lot of us do this, but remember, whenever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So make sure you cube both sides. That would cancel x plus 2, negative 4 cubed. Well, 4 cubed is 64. If I'm taking a negative and cubing it, is it going to be positive or negative? It's going to be a negative 64. So we're going to get x plus 2 equals negative 64. Last thing you need to do is solve for x. You need to subtract 2. Your final answer would be x is equal to negative 66. Questions on 4? Next one. Number 5 says solve and check for an extraneous solution. Square root of x plus 72 equals x. This is the tougher one. Okay, make sure you know what you're doing here. The square root of x plus 72 equals x. Some reminders on this one. Remember, the first thing you got to do to get rid of the square root is you're going to square both sides. And when you square both sides, you have to move everything to the same side as the x squared side. Then you got to factor, set it equal to 0, and check to make sure that both answers work there. Okay, see if you can use that to help you a little bit more. So we start off by squaring both sides. Square this side, square that side. So the square root and the square are going to cancel, leaving you just x plus 72. That's the first step. We square both sides. Now I've got an x squared and an x, so it becomes a trinomial. Okay, so I need to move everything to the same side as x squared. So what's going to happen there, Kenneth, when I do that? Good. He's going to move both of them over, so he's going to subtract x. He's going to subtract 72, so he's going to get 0 equals x squared minus x minus 72. He moved everything to the same side. Next, he's going to factor. Okay, so we're going to factor. So to factor this thing, I need two numbers that multiply to get 72. 8 and 9. It needs to get me -1, so it's going to be -9 and a +8. We factored, did that. Last thing we need to do is set it equal to 0 and solve. So again, that's just changing our signs. X is going to be equal to -8, and X is going to be equal to +9. I set it equal to 0 and solve. The last thing you got to do is check both solutions. One of those is going to work, and one of them is not going to work. Anybody got an idea on which one's not going to work? The -8. The negative normally is the one that doesn't work, and the reason the negative is the one that's not going to work is because when I plug a -8 back in, okay, I'm plugging in both numbers. When I plug in a -8, I'm going to get the square root of 64 equals -8. You can't get a square root equal to a negative number, so you know it's just not going to work. Okay, if you plug in a 9, you're good. The square root of 81 is 9, which is 9. That one's the same. When you take something and you set a square root equal to a negative number, it's not going to check. So your final answer is just 9. That's all you get there, just 9. That one's one of the hardest ones, but if you can handle that one, you should do pretty well. Questions on 5. Next one. Number 6, let f of x be that and g of x be that. Find f plus g. This is the easiest problem on the quiz, on the test. Make sure you know what you're doing. Our hints here, pretty easy. Write it as this, f, so the x minus 2 squared, plus g. Just like that. Then all you got to do is combine like terms. So we're going to take the things that are the same and combine them together. In the end here, my answer is going to look like this, -x squared plus x plus 6, because all we could do really to combine, -x squared didn't combine, x didn't combine with anything. All we could combine was the 2 and the 4, and when I combine 2 and 4, I get 6. That one's the easy one. Next one. F is that, oh, sorry. F is that, G is that, find F times G. Try that one for me. There's F, there's G, multiply them together. In order to add fractions, what do I have to have? Christy, what do I have to add fractions? Common denominators. What denominator are you going to get if you have 3 and 2? 6. What did you multiply 3 by to get 6? Multiply that by 2. So on top you're going to get, if you multiply the bottom by 2, you're going to multiply the top by 2. And so what are you going to have on top? Just take 1 times 2, right? So 2. On the other one, to get 6, she's got to multiply that by 3. And so that means she's going to multiply the top by 3 as well to get 9. We are adding those fractions together. We are taking -3 times 4 to get her -12. And then she's going to add her exponent. Since her denominator is the same now, it's going to stay a 6 on bottom. And all she's got to do is take 2 plus 9. And that will get her 11. -12x to the 11/6 powers. Questions on that one? Next one. F is that, G is that. Find F minus G. Again, not going to give you a super long time here. That one is F minus G of X. So our hints, remember, it's take F, write it down, write down G, put a minus sign. The big key here is put it in parentheses. That first sign, nothing changes, but the signs change on the second one since you have a minus sign, and then you are going to combine like terms. So Alexis, what do we do here once we have the minus sign with the parentheses? Distribute that negative sign. So that's plus, minus, good. Changes all my signs. So now she's got this problem right here. So what do you do next? Combine the 5 and the 8. Yep, that's the only thing you can combine. And so her final answer is going to look like this. X squared minus 2x plus 13. All she could do was combine the 5 and the 8. Everything else stayed the same. That's our final answer there. Questions on anything on that one? Pretty straightforward. Remember, when you're subtracting, put the second part in parentheses. Next one, you are simplifying. You are taking y to the 5/6 over y to the 1/2. Simplify that thing. Try that one. Since we're dividing fractions, we're really looking at the exponents and we're going to subtract them. A reminder, you're looking for where is it bigger. On top, it's 5/6. On bottom, it's 1/2. We want to get the same denominator, so I made it a 6 on both. The top is the same. It's just 5/6, so it stays 5/6. On bottom, though, it's 1/2. So to go to there, I had to multiply by 3. So I got to do the same thing on top. It's going to be 3/6. 5/6 and 3/6. Where is there more? Is there more on top or bottom? On top, so you know that at the end, my answer is going to have a y on top and not on bottom. And then all I got to do is take 5/6 minus 3/6. 5 minus 3 is 2/6. The denominator stays the same. You can obviously reduce 2/6. Oh, that's a really ugly color, but it says 1/3 up there if you can see it. Questions on that one? Next one. Square root of 25 x to the 100 power. Square root of 25 of x to the 100 power. Simplify that. Remember that the square root sign, we can take square roots of numbers, no problem. You can just take the square root of 25. But x to the 100th power is really like x to the 100th power to the 1/2 power. Remember, square root and 1/2 are the same. All right, so the square root of 25, what would that get me? That's going to get me 5, and then I'm taking x to the 100, and I'm raising it to the 1/2. So when I raise it like that, it's really like I'm multiplying a half of 100. Okay, I'm really multiplying those together, so it becomes 100 divided by 2 in the end. And so my final answer is going to be the square root of 25 is 5, and then I take 100, and I'm really just cutting it in half to get me 50, 5x to the 50. Questions on that one? That one's an easy one if you know what you're doing. If you get confused, you might pick something different. Another easy one here, 32 to the 2/5. This should be super easy. Our reminders on this one. Rewrite it as a radical. So you can rewrite it like that and simplify, then do the exponent, or you can always just type it into your calculator. I don't really care which one. If I write it like this, I'm taking 32 to the 5th root, because that 5 is on bottom. That's the number that goes in front of my root. So what number multiplies together 5 times to get you 32? That would be 2 here. So the inside of this part right here is going to get you 2. And then you take 2 and you square it. 2 squared is 4. That's the easy way to do it, or that's a way to do it. The easiest way to do it is to understand how to use your calculator. 32 to the 2/5 power. That also gets you 4. I don't care which way you do it, but know how to do it. My answer was 4 there. Number 12, j to the 10th over k to the 5th, and they're both raised to the 2/5 power. And j to the 10th over k to the 5th, they are both raised to the 2/5 power. Remember, all you're doing is distributing that 2/5 to both powers. You're taking both of them and raising both of them to the 2 powers. So all you're doing here is you're going to multiply them. Since you're taking those powers and raising them to a power, you're multiplying. You can multiply this straight across because they're fractions. It gets you 20 over 5, which just gets you 20 divided by 5 is 4 on top. I like to simplify a little bit different, especially when I'm multiplying by fractions. Can you reduce 10 and 5? What could I divide both 10 and 5 by? If I divided them both by 5, that would get me a 1, and 10 divided by 5 would get me 2. So all I have left here is 2 times 2, which gets you 4. That's the easiest way for me to do it. So if I did the same thing on bottom, I've got this 5 and that 5. They're really going to cancel. My answer is just going to be a 2. If you don't like doing that, you can multiply straight across. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5. Hey, guess what? It still gets you 2. Doesn't matter which way you get there, but get there in the end. My final answer here is going to be j to the 4th over k squared. That's what I got when I reduced 4 on top and a 2 on bottom. Okay, we're doing fine. We're almost through. Number 13, square root of 3x plus 7 minus 8 equals 2. Solve it. Check for extraneous solutions. Here, make sure. Square root of 3x plus 7 minus 8 equals 2. We are trying to solve for x, so we're getting rid of things. So the first thing we want to do is add 8 to both sides. When I get that, I get the square root of 3x plus 7 equals 10. Once I've done that, I want to get rid of the square root. So to get rid of the square root, we're going to square both sides to cancel it out. Square and square. Those cancel. 3x plus 7 equals 100. Right now, you can make the decision. Is this answer that we're going to get, is it going to work? Yeah, why do you think it's going to work? I squared it, but what did I square over here? It's a positive number. Since I squared a positive number, I'm good. If I were to square a negative number somewhere in there, then it probably will not work. But we're good here. Then we're going to subtract 7. Subtract 7. 3x is equal to 100 minus 7. 93. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. 93 divided by 3 gets me 31. So again, we just got rid of stuff. We added 8. We squared it. 100 minus 7 is 93. 93 divided by 3 is 31. If you wanted to check, it would be easy enough. You're doing this problem right here. 3 times 31 is 93. Plus 7 is 100. Square rooted minus 8. That'd be 10 minus 8. Get you 2. We checked it, but we knew it was going to work because we didn't square a negative number. Okay, 3 more. That one. Solve 2x minus 4 to the 1/2 power equals negative 6. Should look very similar to the last one we just did. So when we start on this one, we got 2x minus 4 to the 1/2 power. How do I get rid of a 1/2 power? The second power. The opposite of 1/2 is squaring it. Okay? Remember, 1/2 is the same, it's the exact same thing as this. That's what that problem means when it has a 1/2 power there. So to get rid of the 1/2 power, we do the reciprocal exponent, which is squaring both sides. When I square this left side, it's going to cancel. It's going to get me 2x minus 4. When I take negative 6 and I square it, it's going to get me a positive 36. From there, all we got to do is solve for x. So we're doing order of operations. Add 4. Divide by 2. X is equal to 20. Is that going to work? I need to check that solution in the end. When I plug 20 back in, is that going to get me an answer? Is that going to get me negative 6? Thumbs up if you think it is. Thumbs down if you think it's not. It will not get you that answer. Or how did you know, Desmia, that it wasn't going to work? Yeah, I squared a negative 6 here. We had a square root equal to a negative number. It's not going to work. Okay, if you don't believe me, plug it back in. If I plug that 2x minus 4 back in, or if I plugged in, what did I just get, 40? If I plugged in 40 here, it's 2 times 40, which is, no, it was 20, sorry. Our answer was 20, sorry. 2 times 20 gets you 40 minus 4, which is 36. And I'm taking 36 to the 1/2 power. If you take 36 to the 1/2 power, that will get you a positive 6, not a negative 6 like I wanted. So my final answer is there is no solution to that problem. It looked like it worked, but because I squared a negative number in there, it wasn't going to get me what I wanted. 2 left. Let f be that and g be that. Find f of g of x. Reminder that that is the exact same thing as this. F of g of x. They're the same. If I'm doing f of g, we're running out of time, so I'm going to go quick. If we're doing f of g, you are starting with the inside. So we're starting with g, and we're plugging it into the f equation in place of the x. So this whole g, this whole thing is going to go into that equation, 4x. So my problem is going to look like this, 2. But instead of x, I'm plugging in that 5x minus 8. If I've plugged that in like that, what would I need to do next to try to simplify it? Yep, just distributes all I got left. 2 times 5 is 10x. 2 times 8 is 16. There's my answer, 10x minus 16. Don't get scared by those. You take G, the thing on the inside, and you plug it into the other one. The last one, don't get scared by this one because it's not hard. It says the time it takes for a bus to complete stop can be modeled by the equation this. There's a little space on your paper. That's the equation that we got. Where S is the speed in miles per hour and T is the time in seconds. If the bus is traveling at 56 miles per hour, how long will it take to stop? So they gave you a number. They gave you 56 miles per hour. What am I plugging 56 in for? What is 56? Is that a time? It says S is speed and T is time. Is 56 a time or a speed? It's a speed, so we're going to put 56 in for S. Okay, and we're solving for T. So all we have to do here is we plug in 56 for S. We can divide by 8 to try to get it solved here. So this is my problem. I'm going to plug in 56 for S. I'm solving for T, so I want to get rid of that 8. So I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides. That would cancel. It gets you 7 equals square root of T plus 43. Sorry, square, square. 49 equals 43 plus T. Subtract, you get 6. Your final answer is 6. We'll do some more tomorrow. See you guys. Have a good day.